Clive Barker Podcast, audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign, Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 7, Deader. Okay, well, welcome. This is episode 285 of the Clive Barker Podcast, and we are again doing an audio commentary for a movie that is not a Clive Barker movie. We're going through Clive Barker's A to Z of horror, and we are on the letter G for Grim Tales, and in that chapter, there's a lot of interview talk with Tim Burton, and they talk a lot about Edward Scissorhands. So that's why we're going to be discussing this one. And good morning, Jose.
Hey, Ryan.
And we also have Ed and Nina back with us for this commentary.
Good morning.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys. So nice to have you again. Because basically, Edward Scissorhands is kind of like a fairy tale kind of story. And it's kind of a childhood. It's almost like a childhood fable. It's being told to a child. So we'll get into that as we start the movie. But really another suggestion from the Clive Barker's A through Z of Horror, edited by Stephen Jones. So we've been following through those suggestions at movies that Clive Barker enjoys, and this is one of them.
Yeah, I watching it again last night, for me, this movie did not hold up at all. I was not happy watching this, but
really?
We'll get into it. Yeah, we'll get into it. But
you're going to be the Roger Ebert of the commentary track.
I guess so.
Roger Ebert. I was watching a review, Siskel and Ebert, and he did not get this movie at all. He said something like, "Ed, after watching this movie, I was." What did he say? Let me see. I got it on my notes here. He said that it left him depressed and disturbed. And I was like, God damn it, Roger Ebert.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, ironically, I am blind, and so this is an odd movie, but I've seen it many times, back when I was sighted, which wasn't that long ago. But I remember it very well, and, re-listening to it, with Nina watching it and describing things and stuff was very interesting, and I think it'll be fun to watch. Listen to.
All right. Well, it'll be more fun with you guys, I think, because watching it by myself, I did not enjoy it. But
sad.
for everybody out there, we're paused on the 20th Century Fox logo with the snow on it.
4, 3, 2, 1, play.
Snip, snip.
Okay, there we go.
Clickety, click, click, clack, clack.
Lovely.
Yeah. So
one of those amazing movies that has a personalized logo for the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that. Like The Matrix and movies that they go with the style of the film that change the logo.
So it could be also that I was feeling a little pressured. We were originally going to do this last week on Wednesday. And I was like, I got to get this watched. We're running out of time, and I might have been feeling annoyed, with that and not taking the time to enjoy it. But the first thing that popped into my head was like, man, Tim Burton's opening credits are like all the same. He's got
a little bit,
yeah. And then of course it's Danny Elfman music, and there are times this was made almost at the same time as Nightbreed, and there are times when the music, and they're scanning over all these weird statuaries, and the music sounds like you're in Midian.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I said the same thing to Joe. Exactly. It's like, from a blind perspective, just close your eyes and listen, and it sounds like Midian.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 1989 was the production of Nightbreed, and came out in 1990. This movie was produced in 1990, came out in 1991, I think. No, December 7th of 1990. So, almost 1991. There's definitely a lot of movements in the composition here by the amazing Danny Elfman that sound very Nightbreedish.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Clive, do you know, what the relationship was like at all with Clive and Danny Elfman? I don't.
I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they composed for the movie, but I can tell you.
Batman also came out with Danny Elfman, also came out right around the same. How did he get all that done? I mean,
they were superstars, man. They were like superstars.
Yeah, I guess so.
Tim Burton was coming out of this one, coming out of Batman, making this one, which kind of worked a little bit against him because people were thinking this Edward Scissorhands is going to be a huge comic book movie, and it's like it's a smaller personal project.
It sounds like it could be a superhero or something.
There's Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I love Vincent Price.
Yeah. Tim Burton used to watch all the Corman movies. He would go down to the movie theater in Burbank, and he was a big Vincent Price fan. He's talked about Vincent Price a lot in his work. He even had a little short called Vincent.
Oh, I love that short. It's stop motion animation.
I know.
Here's
a beautiful miniature.
The miniatures and stuff and the zooming in over the town, it looks so much like it's deliberately miniatures, and I know that's his style, but to me it looks like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
And is that a detriment for you?
Yes, yeah, because I feel like these characters are cardboard cutouts. They're not like real people, and I'm watching people who live in a snow globe. It's
wow.
It does have. You're right, though. It has a snow globe look. You're right.
Yeah.
But I think that's its charm. I think that's its style. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like either you like it or you don't. It's one of those,
Yeah. Well, I used to like it, and now I don't. So I used to. I mean, I think
your son doesn't like movies and stuff, right? So
yeah,
this would have been maybe a fairy tale that your son might like or something at some point.
No, he won't watch any movies. Yeah.
So the opening is like you said. It reminds me a little bit of there was a movie that came out not too long ago called Krampus that also has this kind of idea of like a family and everything's very stylized, and there's this idea that they might be living in a snow globe at the end of the movie, but the furniture is all oversized. This movie came out in December, so it was close to Christmas.
Oh,
so
here we are going over the houses like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, so you see everything in the winter.
Yeah,
and in Florida.
And I hate that all the houses are pastel colors. Everybody drives. Everybody.
That's part of it.
Everybody drives home at the exact same time, and then there's this gigantic castle on a hill right at the end of the cul-de-sac that no one has ever visited before.
It's a fairy tale.
You're not supposed to like the sameness of the houses. That's the whole point. It's the criticism of suburbia, right? It reminds me. There was a video I watched earlier today.
I get it that it's all deliberate. it just bugs me because I feel.
I know
like
it's just saying it's meant to bug you. It is meant to bug you.
Well, I feel like I'm wasting my time by watching this because these people aren't real.
Right.
Wow, really?
Right. But I think that's all part of the package.
Oh, here's the ticky-tack boxes.
What about anything that's got like kind of a storybooky, like Disney stuff? Do you feel about like that about all that?
Like what?
Like Pinocchio or Snow White or.
I don't know. I haven't seen those. I haven't seen those since the 70s. I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
I'm sitting right next to a big stack of VHS tapes that are all the classic Disneys that were just recently, dug out. We've been digging storage and stuff. And I've got all those. I'm a huge animation fanatic.
Yeah.
So
this neighborhood,
the Thief and the Cobbler and all these other odd ones,
Wait, we got to talk about these curlers.
Oh my
I
God.
actually used to wear those cups. Those are great because they're soft. You can actually take a nap in them.
Yeah. Well, and like we're supposed to care about Peggy's makeup career with Avon or whatever. I don't know. It just.
She's just striking out left and right, trying to sell makeup to her neighbors.
Have you ever known anybody who sold Avon or sold Amway or any of that kind of stuff?
Kind of, yeah.
Brian?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
I have. My mom.
Yeah.
My mom sold Avon and stuff
Nice.
at one point. And Tupperware.
Tupperware parties, they were a thing.
And Kathy Baker's here. She's paying attention to the repairman, trying to figure out how she can clog this thing again to get him back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's another part of this that really bugged me is that these characters, like she accused him of rape, right? Edward later on in the movie.
At the end,
And-
by the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Joyce,
and there's no
Practically assaulted him.
there's no consequences for any of these except for the teenager guy that we'll get to. But there's no consequences for any of these people for treating him horribly.
Yeah, that's what Tim Burton is
Yeah,
trying to make a
exactly.
comment about the society.
Okay,
of
so
that.
so let me say
They
this
are the
before
monsters.
before I watched this, I watched a video with Larry King talking to Gary Oldman.
Oh,
Because
cool.
Gary Oldman, in case you don't know, he was also in contention to play Edward Scissorhands,
Edwards, right.
along with Tom Cruise.
That would have
Robert
also
Downey
been
Jr.
that would have also been
That
really
would be
good.
really weird, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah.
now with
But so-
Lestat in his past.
And so Gary Oldman's response to reading the script was at the time this is literally what he said. He said, I read the script and I was like, I don't get this. All these pastel colored houses. And then there's at the end of the road, there's a giant Gothic castle. It's like, what the hell? An Avon lady goes up there. And it's like, what? I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then he says that he didn't even go to a meeting about it. And he passed on the role. And then Johnny Depp got the part. And he said, and then I went to see the movie and I'm watching it sitting there.
Was he
And I
sad that
see
he
the
didn't
camera
take it?
pad from camera pans from the houses up the hill to the castle. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. And it's like 2 minutes into the movie, but it was too late to it was too late.
Yeah,
but I
of
got
course.
Yeah.
But I mean, and the rest is history. Johnny Depp and him worked together. At some point, didn't they?
and Tom Cruise himself, when he was trying to get the part,
Lestat, when he played
Yeah.
Lestat.
he was trying to ask questions to Tim Burton, Carolyn Thompson, who wrote the script. He was like, but I don't get it. How does he go to the bathroom? And how does he do this? And why? How old is he? And
It
it's like,
doesn't
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Right. That's
Yeah,
why
well,
but what I'm trying to
How do
say
you
is a
think
lot
he
of
got all
people
those
think
scars
about
and wounds
this.
all over his face.
I know, but a lot of people think about it
This
this way.
ridiculous dark mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you don't have to explain to me that it's on purpose. I mean, they made the whole movie on purpose. But the point is
I'm
that
just saying
there's
when you feel
these characters. It makes these characters not believable, and because they nobody says, "Hey, is that leather your skin?" Are you a robot? Nobody says that stuff. It's all about, well, I know a
Wait a minute,
doctor.
wait a
I know a
minute,
doctor
wait a
that could
minute,
maybe
wait a
fix your hands.
Ryan, don't you remember somebody says that to him when he's on the TV show?
Oh, they
and
say
he
it all the
says,
time.
I'd like to meet them.
yeah,
Right.
they say it to him like
yeah,
3 times
I know. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that in a way, Tim Burton does address that issue. He puts it in the movie, but the point of the movie is that it's a fairy tale. And that's why Clive put it in the A to Z of horror,
Yeah.
Well, I know that Ryan is saying that I didn't try to say to Ryan that you don't get it. What I was saying is that when you feel uncomfortable seeing all the houses looking the same and all the people leaving their cars the same to go to work and how everything is bland and boring and it feels like you're wasting your time, that's
the
what you're
point.
supposed to
That's
feel.
the point.
Yeah, you're just right on the money.
Right. You're getting the manipulation. You're an audience member, and the director and the filmmakers are manipulating you to feel certain ways, and that's what they want. They want you to feel bored by the ticky-tacky houses. They want you to see the story is really Tim Burton. Tim
Look at
Burton
this.
grew up in suburbia, and he was a punk, and he was into Vincent Price and horror, and he stayed in his room, and nobody else. Like the punk kid who's the boyfriend.
Right.
That's the kind of kids he faced every day in high school.
And all those
he
like
was the
manufactured
outcast.
and all those manufactured neighborhoods where you go into your friend's house and the rooms
all
are
look
just
the
the same. It's the
Yeah.
fireplace in the same place. The kids' room is over there. The kitchen's over there, and you got the same size backyard. It's
And
really
I totally
boring.
identify with it because I grew up
Exactly.
like that too.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, I'm older than you, but if you saw pictures of me from 1985, and I was a punk rocker. I had spiked hair. I had a mohawk. I used to wear
Nice.
goth black clothes, and
They're on
I
your
went to
Facebook
Japan.
page.
Yeah, I went to Japan and I was wearing like a cape, like Bela Lugosi and stuff. I mean, I used to wear white face makeup with black lips and black makeup on my eyes and stuff. I was in fact. Tim Burton, I wore his name badge because Beth's Cutler, had Tim Burton on the guest list for a big art show in LA. And me and Diane went there for Cenobium. And they said, oh, hey, Tim Burton's not going to show up here, Ed. Wear Tim Burton's name badge. And it was because I was Clive Barker's guest at this big art show because Bess Cutler was representing Clive's art at that big show.
So again,
all that stuff in the back.
I know that
the mother's in the big hall seeing all the kettled robots and stuff.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, the Gothic.
The art direction is
castle.
fantastic.
So I know that he did all this stuff on purpose, and I know that it's supposed to make you feel that way about suburbia. But the point is, there are too many points of suspension of disbelief in this movie to make
For you,
it. Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. It was right up my alley.
Yeah. Well, and I think the casting is great. I mean, the people who playing the characters did awesome. But
Vincent Price, pièce de résistance. This is his last film.
Oh, really?
Diane Wiest was a real champion of this project. She went around raising, trying to get people to read the script and to get this produced as well. She was a real mother to this project.
Although at that time, I don't think anybody needed to push it because Tim Burton was on top of the world with Batman, and they wanted to make anything he wanted to make at that time.
You'd think so, but it was kind of hard for them to get the producer to have this movie made. Eventually, they lucked out because they made a really good deal, where the producer of this movie went to the studios and they said, "Okay, we don't want to make a movie by committee. We have this package here. We have the script.
A vision.
You either want to do it or not." And so I think the deal was
I think they gave him like 24 hours or something like
a week. I think it was a week. Give him the script, give him a week, and then say yes or no. If it's no, then we'll go to some other studio. And so finally, 20th Century Fox said yes, we'd like to do it.
I heard it was shorter than that, and that they didn't even leave the meeting without saying, "Okay, we'll do it."
Oh, okay.
But that's okay.
Well, the producer in the video said it was about a week, so that's why I'm saying.
This is a little bit of a horror moment here with Edward kind of lurching in the corner with his hands.
Yeah, he comes out of the shadows.
Yeah, I love the house. I mean, it's crazy that, you're right, that this house is at the end of this cul-de-sac in this neighborhood. But just as far as a piece of art direction and set building and stuff, I love it.
It's very Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and this town is pretty much just made up of one cul-de-sac as far as we know in this movie.
Well, I heard that the way that they actually got to shoot, they were looking all over the United States for a place to film this, and there was a housing development in Florida that was not yet sold out. Like they had all these houses built, but only a handful had been sold, and people were living in them. And they were able to make a deal where they were able to take like 4 or 5 blocks over and just repaint them and do their own topiary and all that stuff so that they could create this.
There were some holdouts. They the plan for this, of course, involved painting the houses all a certain colors. And there were a couple of people who were holding out for more money, and they were like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to have my house painted." And I was like, getting close to production, as okay, I guess we'll take it. We'll have it painted, because otherwise they were just going to, shoot in different angles, not to have those houses. But they just decided to take the money instead. But this is in Tampa, Florida. Florida.
Is there any story about like what happened afterwards? Did anybody want to keep it that way for like a touristy attraction, or did they all just get repainted?
They got repainted, yeah. Actually, if you go to if you look up the movie locations, there's a website called hookedonhouses.net, and they show the house today, how it looks like. It went on the market. It looks very different. It's got some tan sidings, a red door, big tree in the front yard. At the time, there was no tree there. Yep. It's number 1774.
It's funny what you were saying, though, about the houses being identical, because last year I went to visit my dad, and we went to my mom's old best friend's house where I used to play when I was a kid, and it was exactly the same layout as ours. And I had to ask her, like, "Can I see your basement?"
That kid that was slip and sliding there, that was Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
But, yeah, so it was funny to take that little trip back in time.
Well, and I have lived in neighborhoods like this. I mean, not pastel, but we moved what 21 times before I was 16 years old.
What state?
Washington State. We moved all the time.
I've lived in California my whole life, and in California California, there are neighborhoods just like this, actually. Not the pastel, but, all
I love
same
the
footprint of
mid-century retro style aesthetic going on.
Yeah, the
Like
sunburst clock, the velour upholstery, the carpeting, the phones.
I know.
This movie's
everything.
This movie's supposed to take place in present day, like 1990, but they all have like 60s
no,
decor.
Not really. I think it's supposed to be in its own, time.
It's out of
It's a
time,
bit
yeah.
70s. Like my mom would have not really got what was wrong with that scene. Like that it was kitschy.
That it was her same era.
She wouldn't have found it kitschy.
She would have thought that looks like my old kitchen.
Yeah, the house they used for the movie is in a neighborhood called Carpenter's Run in Lutz, Florida. And I think most of this was around Tampa as well. So there you go. And so it was really hot. And poor Johnny Depp wearing a suit
that leather outfit
made out of Tim Burton's couch parts. And it's like,
wow.
Oh, my God. They had like a cooling system that was supposed to be part of the suit, but it was kind of bulky and cumbersome.
Didn't really work out.
Yeah, so, poor Johnny Depp had a horrible time. Passing out, puking a bunch of times out of heat exhaustion.
Jeez.
Yeah, I heard that they had to build a slant board for him so that, like in other words, he couldn't really sit down in that thing. And so they had to, when he had to rest, he had like a slant board. C-3PO had something like that too.
Like Frankenstein, right?
Jeez.
Like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And those scissor hands were made by Stan Winston, and there were two kinds of hands, right? So one of them is made out of plastic, so it's not really like sharp. But then there was this mechanical one, which is usually puppeteered off camera by 4 or 5 puppeteers, like when they're showing it cutting stuff and that. So that was being puppeteered. But and he tried sleeping with the plastic ones just to see how it would feel.
Wow.
Method acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
Next morning, woke up and they
brought
were
him in to Stan Winston Studios, and they said, "Here, take a pair of these home so you can practice at home and feel what it's like and stuff."
nuts.
Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall plays the boyfriend, very much against type, right?
Yeah. He was before this. He was kind of more of a nerd character in other movies like The Breakfast Club and.
Yeah, I actually think that this is great because it gives, as far as actors are concerned, it shows his range, that he can be an asshole.
Oh, yeah, and he does a great job of that. His parents also have more modern stuff in their house compared to, like, all the rest of the neighborhood.
Like he had DVD players or he talked about, like, my dad's got a big flat screen and he won't let me teach.
I think it was like a 4-head stereo VCR or something like that.
Yeah, but it sounded all expensive and his parents
this does take place in like modern 1990.
And a lot of the original performance here as he warms up to socializing, he's very nonverbal. He's very much just emoting with his eyes and his way he walks.
His body language.
Yeah, and it
must have been from Johnny Depp's point of view, looking at the script and saying, like, "Gee, this is an easy script. I don't have to have any lines."
Yeah.
Well, easy in some ways, harder in others, right? Yeah. But he was dating Winona Ryder at the time. She was 18. So the romantic interests were actually in a relationship together.
Wow.
Yeah, it really works on screen,
He even had her tattooed on his arm.
Oh, really?
What's the tattoo?
Winona Forever.
Oh,
and he was coming out from 21 Jump Street, right? I think.
Right.
Which I never saw. That was a show.
Big hit.
Yeah, that was a show that just I totally missed out on. I never saw 21 Jump Street.
I totally watched that. I mean, that was, they even played it in, reruns like late at night on some stations and stuff,
Oh, man. And look at that waterbed. Holy crap.
Yeah.
70s staple, huh?
Yeah.
Ironically, we have one here in our house
Still?
right now.
It's in our guest room. Yeah.
How comfortable is it?
Brand new a few years ago because her father likes them, and when he was going to come and stay here, she wanted to give him a nice waterbed to sleep on.
Well, that's
It's
cool.
got. So they do still sell them. Really hard to find them though. Really.
But they're not that wobbly like they show in the movie, right?
Yeah,
They're
they
a little
are.
harder.
Oh, yeah, no,
Are
they're totally wobbly, yeah.
It depends how you fill them.
And how is
You
it
can make
like
them firm. You can make
on
them
your
You want them to
back?
have a little give though. You do want them to wobble.
Sure. orthopedically speaking, is that good for you, or it's just a matter of preference?
I like to nap on one, but I wouldn't want to sleep on it 24. Like I wouldn't want it to be my own bed.
And it's
Sure.
it's also
arthritis.
it's also
Work at
weird if there's
chiropractic school.
one person on there versus two people. Because
True.
right, if you're only one person, then you end up like rolling into the middle and kind of sinking down.
Yeah, the
Ah.
old-fashioned ones were like that, but nowadays they make them. It's two tanks in.
Oh,
or two
okay.
Yeah, it's
compartments.
weird. It's not like sections. It's got like
It's almost
Okay.
like a sleep
You know?
number where one of you
Yeah.
could make it warmer than the other if you wanted.
Well,
yeah. This one's really interesting.
well, of course, the point is to roll into each other and just one. It's basically that's the point of a waterbed.
Well, in those days, yeah.
But I love the I mean, I can remember, of course, I'm blind now, but I can remember what he does with that waterbed with the blades, like
Yes.
either now or later,
puts a
where
stuffed animal
he
on it.
just pokes the hell out of it. It just
Well, when she
springs.
comes home.
Yeah, when
later,
she comes home in the
Yeah.
middle of the night, it just springs, leaks
Yeah.
everywhere. And it's
I
so
know.
funny because
I know.
you can just imagine if you were on the waterbed trying to sleep with spiky hands and
Yeah.
not poking it anymore. And then in the middle of the night, you're disturbed and you don't know what to do. And your hands would go to support your weight on the bed and you would
Yeah.
poke the hell out of it.
So at this point in the movie, she's gave him these clothes and he put them on, but he put them over the leather. So is she not wondering like, hey, is that your skin? What are you? You're not a
Yeah, but-
human? What is going on?
Well,
nobody ever says that
Again,
stuff.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like at the
Yeah.
end, he cuts his clothes off when he's heading back up to the castle. Remember, it's like
Right.
Yeah.
You can think they are his skin. Maybe they are.
It's almost like he's covering up his real self with these new clothes that are like suspenders and a boring white shirt and whatever. It's like he's one single unit. He's like a character.
But all they ever
ever
focus on is his hands. But it's like, well, wait a minute, you're a robot. That's also kind of big. That's also should be.
there's definitely
Kind of an android in
a
a way.
literal approach that we can take to a movie like this, which is just going to bring up more questions than answers.
Right. You got to just go with
See
the
a
flow.
robot, an android, a
Yeah.
zombie.
I mean, there's so many questions like that even though I'm totally on board with the movie, I have too. Like, for instance, you know how when he starts cutting everybody's hair,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how come he doesn't cut his own hair?
Right.
Yeah. Right. Well, and
And he
he's
likes it that way.
he's set up as this expert with his
I
scissor
think
hands,
so.
but he cuts his face all the time.
Well, who tells
In
you
the
he doesn't
past,
cut his
I
own
don't think
hair?
through-
There's
in the
some
course of the
hairstyles
film.
that look just like
Yeah, he
his.
cuts his face when he's in Winona's room looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
So
Well, and he's
I
got
think he doesn't do it that
scars all over his face.
Right. That's from his whole life.
Yeah.
What's interesting is V. Neal, who is the makeup lady who did this film, she commented that one of the only things that she, looks back on when she sees it today is that she didn't like the way the scars came out. Like, in other words, we have this makeup material, this new technique called Tinsley's, Christian Tinsley invented this thing called Tinsley's transfers, which are Pros-Aid transfers that can be blended on like a tattoo. Like it's on a piece of paper and you kind of stick it on the skin and then rub it with an alcohol on a piece of cotton or something, and it transfers and it blends in beautifully and they look like real skin and they're much better than these prosthetics. They were using foam latex back in the day in the 90s when they did this. And, it's a minor complaint, but she said that the one thing she would like to have done would have been to fix the prosthetics on the scars.
I think it looks pretty good.
They're very pronounced.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. If you glue something on your face, it's obvious.
Well, and
Well, also, if you do get a scar that's untreated, it does create what's called a keloid, which is a larger
raised,
chunk of
raised.
raised welt.
well, and
So in that sense, I'm okay with it.
And this whole movie is kind of made like a stage play in a way. So stuff like scars, you expect them to be more pronounced. Everybody's got
right.
bright colors. People talk really loud.
A fun fact that you brought that this is like theatrical. It was originally in the early stages of writing the script. They were going to make it a musical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was going to be a song by Edward Scissorhands called "I Can't Handle It," which was going to have lyrics like "Everything I touch just gets blown to smithereens," and it's like, oh. and then Caroline Thompson and Tim Burton decided, after Tim Burton read the original draft, he was like, yeah, I think we don't need to make songs and music. I think this would stand well on its own as a story.
Yeah.
So that's why they just took out that idea, because also I think it would have made it a little too kitschy, too like
theatrical.
It would have been hard to feel emotionally involved with some of the scenes, because it would just be people singing and kind of takes you out of it.
For people I was one of those people that wasn't a big fan of musicals, growing up and stuff. And I used to think to myself, like, why do they just break into song all of a sudden? Like the words in the song are actually part of the story. Like they're, it's a love movie or something, but I never used to like that.
Yeah.
So I could totally understand how,
Here's everybody going to work, driving their little cars.
But right there, I was thinking that interesting that they didn't get the music, that song, Little Boxes. Yeah, because it's so perfect for that neighborhood that I always think the song is in the movie, and it's not.
It's really Stepford Wives too.
Starts with that. Oh yeah.
Yes, and the fact that she's an Avon lady brings a whole dimension to this scene now, where she's trying to cover his scars with makeup. So she's trying to make him more acceptable. She's trying to make him more like everybody else is, right? To blend in.
And
she's well-intentioned.
And he's just happy to have people, to talk to and to be with.
Around him, like a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he puts up with this stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, the art direction on her, is like, do you know who Mary Kay Cosmetics is?
Yeah.
She's wearing an outfit that looks like the way that the Mary Kay ladies with their pink Cadillacs would be looked, but she's presenting Avon,
with the round little hat.
Yeah, so it's like a combo of all these kind of like products mixed together in her version of it,
Mm-hmm. I've read an article before this movie, which I thought was really interesting, because to a certain degree, I always felt that was a subtext in the movie, but it was an article relating Asperger's syndrome and Edward Scissorhands.
Oh,
wow.
And it's from the People First Education blog, and they talk about an interesting view that could explain a lot of the movie, or at least, every explanation is valid. But it says here that the character of Scissorhands, that seems to fit a little bit the profile of someone who might be, under the Asperger's syndrome spectrum. And that at the beginning of the film, he's like isolated and withdrawn in a big mansion.
Right.
He's kind of, he doesn't socialize. He's kind of, he works on his sculptures in his, very introverted, very artistic. And then he wants to socialize, because when Peg shows up in the castle, right, she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave." He's like, "Don't go." And it's like, he actually wants to socialize. He doesn't know how, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I thought really brought the movie together for me, is that his hands represent his social skills.
Yeah.
And so, and so that's the thing that that's the thing, right? His handicap are his hands, aka his social skills. And that's also the thing that allows him to express himself creatively and connect to people in a different way other than emotional, by making art.
That's exactly like Tim Burton. Look at him.
Yeah.
That is Tim Burton.
Exactly. So,
and all the projects Tim Burton has had, if you think about it, like Vincent, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Scissorhands, same concept. I mean, even Dark Shadows. Like almost everything. He's always got Johnny Depp playing the odd man out. The fish out of water.
Yes,
I didn't realize that he dragged the TV out there in the lawn to watch TV while Edward did all the work.
That's just a backyard TV.
Yeah.
And about the scars on his face, this article also connects them to the psychoanalytical explanation that says that Edward's constantly cutting or scarring his face accidentally. The scarring could represent the emotional scarring of failed social attempts caused by his inability to handle social situations, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's even when he's trying to save Kim's little brother from being run over, and he cuts him accidentally, and it's like, it didn't work out. So that's social situation that doesn't work usually results in a scar.
Right, an emotional scar that's held
exactly.
inside.
Well, and
Yeah.
his character is tragic, and it never really gets resolved.
No, it's a bad ending. You know?
Yeah.
I wanted it to end with a happy ending. I wanted Winona and him to live happily ever after up in the castle.
I think it ends the best way that it could, to be honest, for Edward Scissorhands, for Edward himself. I think he's happy doing the things he wants to do, and he's, he's up there. I mean, I think it ends the best way.
I think he's lonely. I think with the Vincent Price father, he had a family of his own kind of, and
sure.
He's alone up there in the castle. It's, you know what it's very much like in my feeling too, just as a blind person listening mostly, is the Frankenstein story. Like when the villagers with the pitchforks and the torches and the police come, and they're chasing him up to the castle, it's almost like, the end of Frankenstein where he goes up in the windmill and it gets blown up at the end,
Yeah.
And here it doesn't get blown up. That's why I'd say it's a little better than that. But
Winona
right.
covers for him.
Yeah.
Oh, here is chopping the lettuce, and all these ladies that just showed up at the door, like all this gossiping that goes on, right?
Yeah.
Like they see, oh, she brought someone home. Who is it? Oh, I don't know. I couldn't get a good look at him.
Yeah.
And then everybody
like
starts
every
calling
block,
each other.
it's like, oh, he just turned left on the corner. Okay, you
Right.
pick up from there.
So there's this oppressiveness to that degree of like suburbia that they're always watching you. They're always like trying to drag you into their own like lives, and they're always trying to nose into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
the nosy neighbors,
Right. And Joyce shows up and it practically invites herself to a barbecue, which is going to be another social awkward event for poor Edward.
Right.
And
but
we get
it's great. I love it because you get to see the whole neighborhood's personality come out at that barbecue.
Yeah.
And right now we're getting to the inventor. We're going to see the inventor because he was looking at the can being opened by a machine, and it flashed back to Vincent Price, who's in this movie.
Yeah. Who does a wonderful job. I mean, he's such a great actor. And I love him just as much as Tim Burton does,
So do all these little robots have the same level of artificial intelligence as Edward?
I don't think so.
Ryan, you go there. I think they might be various early versions. Like some are toys, some are, automatons and stuff, Like, how in Blade Runner, how that guy who builds his own friends, his toy friends, like, good morning, J.S. Sebastian.
Yeah.
Home again, home again. Home again, home again. Jiggity jig.
Jiggity jig.
So, and it's so beautiful that he's making cookies, and then he grabs a heart-shaped cookie, and he gets the idea, right? This little idea that pops in his head. It's like a heart, and then he places the cookie in front of one of the robots, who's actually cutting things with scissor hands.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where we see that's where he came from. I always want to bring up this idea that Frankenstein, they bring up the idea that, Vincent Price is like Dr. Frankenstein. I think I see him more as a Geppetto myself.
He's sitting here getting amazed by his own inventions. Like, you built that.
Yeah, he's proud of it.
That doesn't mean that he can't love it. Like Geppetto, it's like he built a boy.
Yep.
And I bring Geppetto because he's emotionally invested in his creation. Yeah. Not so much as Frankenstein is just trying to self-aggrandize himself, right? It's like, now I'm God.
So that's the early version of Edward, right? That lettuce chopper guy.
Yep.
Right. Prototype.
Yeah.
Early prototype.
Yep.
What's interesting as far as prototypes are concerned in the Scissorhands is I have seen a lot of sketches and early drawings that Tim Burton himself did, and then also the various artists at Stan Winston's when they were just conceptualizing, what the costume, what the hands would look like and everything. And have you seen much of that stuff, Joe? Or
I saw some of the drawings. I mean, I followed Tim Burton's work for years, and I even had like his book that had like poems and drawings.
Oh,
he came
that
up.
Book? I've heard of that. Book.
Yeah. He
and it
drew
had a lot of sketches in it.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It's a kind of like a little Edward Gorey kind of book, and he drew Edward Scissorhands as a character when he was in high school. And then he showed that to Carolyn Thompson, and she was writing a book. I think it was actually a short story called Edward. And that's where they worked from to join the two images and words and image together to create the script.
And then when they took it to Stan Winston's, they have a couple of artists there, drawing, sketch artists. One of them's name is, I believe, Mark Crash McCreary. And he drew these beautiful pencil, just like charcoal and ink and, drawing pencil pictures of variations on the hands, like all kinds of like clippers and regular scissors and, can openers and all these weird things until, they finally came up with the final refined finished design.
Oh, no kidding.
There's a lot of early, with all kinds of straps and stuff on his arms and like mechanisms that would make, the scissor part open and close that, didn't get into the final design. But it's very interesting evolution to see all the versions.
Yeah.
We just saw that old guy come up to him and say, "Don't let anyone tell you you're a cripple." And then later on, he's going to yell at him, "Get the cripple," or something like that from his garage.
That's the payoff.
That's one thing about this movie that kind of bugs me is that nobody, usually you like to see some of the characters change and evolve a little bit, but almost nobody does. I think maybe Winona Ryder's character is the only one.
Right.
That's the world. That's the nature of the world. It doesn't change. It doesn't accept people who are different. It's always like they're the majority. They're always going to control.
Well, maybe,
what's
but
seen as normal.
That's why we watch movies.
Right. Exactly.
Just to
That's
get
why
Away
Winona
from
Ryder
that.
falls in love with him.
Yeah.
Reality, yeah. What's interesting too is that guy, he also clangs on his own leg and says, you're and then the lady comes up and says like, he's not handicapped, he's special.
Yeah.
Here he is trying to sleep with his scissor hands on the waterbed. This is the part where Kim gets introduced.
So is he asleep right now with his eyes open? Or can he?
I think he's recollecting. Yeah. He's reminiscing.
Yeah, can he? Maybe he can't sleep.
Doing his flashback.
Whoa, flashback aside.
That's wonderful that we see Vincent Price teaching him social norms
about ethics.
Yeah.
Or etiquette.
Oh yeah, I love that. To take tea, should you pick up the cube with fingers? No.
That's a good impersonation right there.
I have a life cast of Vincent Price from about this time in his life. Yeah, it's really old Vincent Price. He did life casts for different things.
So now it's going to read in the poetry.
Yeah. The book that I had. That I still have. I just don't have it here. I have it back in Portugal along with my stuff. It's The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories.
Oh, wow.
There's a funny story that gives the title to the book. It's a boy who's a half oyster. So his head is like a shell. And he's since oysters are an aphrodisiac and his dad is impotent, the doctor tells that he should eat his own son. And
jeez,
there's all sorts of stories like that.
Yeah, he couldn't just go get an oyster from the store.
I mean, but isn't that like Clive's work? Don't you think? Like Tim Burton and Clive are, like brothers under the skin. It's like they both think of crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And here's the kids from this bland suburban neighborhood. They're the rebels. They come in a van drawn with flames, and they're colorful.
When they open the door, beer cans fall out.
Yeah. They're like rebelling against the blandness of suburbia.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, her parents let her go on a camping trip with her boyfriend. I mean, that's pretty. That seems pretty
modern.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the 90s. I mean, I was, a kid. Same thing. Like look at Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You open the door of the van and a cloud of pot smoke comes rolling out,
Yeah. They're pretty progressive. They're pretty permissive as parents. Alan Arkin plays his dad.
If you trust your kid and they're smart and they've been raised right, they know to not overindulge with drugs and alcohol and to make sure that like their friends are not drunk driving and stuff like that. They trust her,
Yeah.
And she's got her head on straight. She doesn't let her boyfriend, maul her and stuff,
And she changes her mind about Edward as well. She sees the beauty in anything that's different. That's the thing. She's not like the other people that represent the usual bland world that doesn't change. She does.
And that's what's so interesting too, though, is that think about it. This is Tim Burton's fantasy. He could have never gotten a high school cheerleader type like her, and he's dreaming. He wants to be the Edward Scissorhands. To be welcomed and to be able to get a chance with a girl that's like the prom queen.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton kind of modeled the character of what's the name of the mom? Peggy, I think.
Yeah.
Peg. In his own mother, he says that his own mother sometimes would bring homeless people home for dinner and stuff. Be like,
wow.
Hey, this is John. He's gonna have dinner with us and stuff. And that's how he got the idea for Peggy to be such an open person that would just bring home people and say, well, you're gonna come with us. I'm not gonna let you be out here by yourself.
Yeah, and her daughter Kim, she's like, but why did you have to bring him home? He's like, honey, if you saw him, you would have done the same thing.
Right. This funny sequence here where Alan Arkin offers him lemonade.
Yeah.
And then later on, the lady says, I'm making lemonade. And he's like,
He actually, Johnny Depp actually threw up in that scene where at the barbecue where everybody's feeding him stuff. Oh, try my ambrosia salad. He actually did puke for real. Not in the camera scene, of course, but while they were shooting it, he did.
Too much ambrosia salad shoved in his face.
I've never had ambrosia salad, but I think I know what's in it, and I would hate.
My mom makes it.
I would hate to eat that stuff.
It's pretty much just like
it's
just like fruit salad, right, with the whipped cream and.
Yeah, but it's got whipped cream and it's got like a green Jello, so it looks green and stuff.
Sounds gross.
Some people put
it's
pistachios in
delicious.
it.
It's
Little chunks of pineapple.
Yeah, my mom makes a big bowl of that for our Thanksgiving or our Christmas.
Oh man. Well, hey, if you like it.
Popular favorite.
Yep. But
That's why I identify with so many things in this movie. There's like so many layers, so many levels.
Sure.
I mean, I grew up in the 1960s. I was born in 1960. The 1960s, my neighborhood was like that. I had a whole cul-de-sac. We had a bunch of kids growing up, all in the houses next door. And
big old castle at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we had a big castle.
bike gangs.
I wish we had a big castle. I'd have been up there every day.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Nobody was ever curious about it. Nobody talked about it. Nobody went up to visit. I don't know.
It's more of a representation of like the creative subconscious in a way. Like that's why the inventor is the colorful guy who creates things while everybody else is just sitting in their home, gossiping, not doing anything creative. They're just living their lives like robots. And then an actual robot comes down and changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's a great way of looking at it.
It's a beautiful set, by the way. The castle looks like the Haunted Mansion at the Disney park.
Yeah.
It's,
I love it. I know. And look at that big hole in the attic room. Like, what? It's like somebody better repair that or else the property value. Right, Ryan? The property value is going to go right out the window.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. You'd be like, there's probably a lot of property taxes on that terrain. That's why the castle is in ruins. Nobody wants to pick up the tab.
Yeah, right. Who has been? That castle would have been foreclosed on.
Yeah. Like, who inherits that castle when the old man dies?
Yeah.
Because Edward doesn't have a name, I don't think.
I don't think the neighborhood underneath cares about that place. They're scared of it. They just don't want to deal with it. So they kind of, there's a gate on it. Let's leave the gate closed. We don't want to cross that.
What's hilarious is like, if it really were real, like the way Ryan's talking, wouldn't it be funny to be able to look it up on Google Images? Florida near Tampa. Oh yeah, that's where the castle is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have that Coral Castle.
Oh yeah, I've heard
in
of that.
Florida.
This one man spent like his whole lifetime building, right?
One man and a lot of helpers. Right. Yeah. It's still there.
There are some crazy things like that all over the United States. Different little, curiosities.
Yeah.
Man, Anthony Michael Hall, he's such a douchebag in this movie.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing how he looks so likable in other movies, but here, just the way he looks at people and just the way he acts and his body language, it just immediately you think, oh my God, that guy's a freaking bully.
He's got no redeemable qualities at all.
Yeah. No.
And he's smarmy like Eddie Haskell, on the Leave It to Beaver show.
Yeah.
Hello, Mrs. Cleaver. Oh, those are lovely pearls you've got on,
Yeah.
Yeah. I've met characters just like him,
Yep,
I met people who would actually go to their in-laws and just go to their in-laws for a meal and just be like all nice and
just
all.
kiss ass.
Yeah, but all of a sudden they say, yeah, when you guys get old, you guys are going in a home because I don't like the smell of old people. Just saying that to their in-laws, like straight to their face.
Right
Yeah.
to their face.
And they take it. So, yeah, there's people like that. It's amazing.
Yep. Unfortunately. But there's also nice people like Edward and his mom.
It's funny that she invited her boyfriend and then her other friend that's just sitting there next to her not saying anything.
Right.
Right. She won't eat the meat because he touched it with his hands.
Yeah, that reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer was taking showers and making salad in the shower with himself while showering.
Yeah.
And then he would feed it to people. They'd have a dinner, and they would find out after they're sitting there.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I made the salad while I was taking a shower.
Well, and so and Jim laughing when Edward drops the steak in his girlfriend's lap. It's like he doesn't respect her either, apparently.
Oh no, he just wants to get a Vans with a mattress in the back so he can bone his girlfriend there.
Yeah.
That's his plan.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Exactly.
But his lousy dad won't buy it for him.
This lovely topiary that was completely built out of wireframe, and then they would just flock this stuff in it. And
where'd you find that out? I wanted to know more about how the topiary stuff got done.
Well, I don't remember where I got it, but that's also usually how they do stuff like this. But I think I read it in an article about, it was something like 25 things that you didn't know about Edward Scissorhands or something.
Yeah, it's amazing he can do that without a ladder.
Yeah. And these haircuts were all real, of course, because, whatever.
Yeah.
You can't really fake this. But how wonderful. Like, that's brutal. All of a sudden, she's all, like, ready for the show. I love the big fuzzy one, sheepdog or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I like the dinosaur that he made.
Yeah. Is that a throwback to like the Batman? Because Batman had a dinosaur.
No. It's Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He directed that.
Because Batman also has a giant T-Rex in his cave. And
again,
Silver Age.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like, in other words, he loves roadside giant dinosaur attractions, and he loves, just like I do, real dinosaurs and fake toy. You ought to see how many dinosaur models and figures I've got, you guys.
I've seen a big one in Tennessee. I was in Tennessee once. I think it was Gatlinburg or...
Yeah, and they're all
somewhere.
over the place. There is some in Canada. I know about a lot of them. There's some even in California, like right here in the Bay Area. There's at least one big dinosaur at a gas station.
Well,
you
what
have
do you know?
At least as many dinosaurs as you have creatures.
Right. Here's the moment where Joyce asks for a haircut.
Yeah.
And it's the setup. The setup and the payoff of the scene is just so awesome.
I know. I love.
It's very choreographed.
I love how she asks, first, have you ever cut a woman's hair?
Yeah.
And she's like closing her eyes, and he's like touching her with the scissors, and she's like, it's very sensual.
Oh, yeah. She's orgasming.
Yeah. If I had seen all the cuts on his face, I would never ask him to cut my hair.
I know.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
This reminds me of an awkward story that, what the hell, I'll say it. So one time, it's not awkward for me personally,
Nobody's
but
listening, Joe, it's okay.
But you know how women sometimes have a very deep relationship in terms of like picking one hair salon and picking one person to cut their hair and all that stuff, and they stick to it.
Hairdresser.
Yeah, usually people in my mother's generation would be more loyal to that because it'd be like, that's a place where you go not just to get your hair cut, but to socialize, to get the gossip, to, to get out of the house and do something nice for yourself, to make yourself feel empowered and beautiful.
And the gossip. Can't forget.
Yeah. And so one time she came home and she said, Jesus Christ, it's like she told me a story. And this was years after the fact when I was probably in my 20s or whatever. And she said, the lady at the salon was telling me a story that she gave up on a customer because apparently the lady would go get her hair cut and she would just like close her eyes and be very, very like have a big smile on her face every time she was getting her hair like washed and trimmed and, you know, permed and whatever. And then one time out of the blue, she ended up admitting that she got, I wouldn't say orgasms, but that it really made her feel good to get her hair touched. And then the hairdresser was like, yeah, I don't think I can do her anymore. It's like, that was kind of awkward. And so I was like, really? And awkward. I can attest to the fact I had girlfriends who really loved having their hair touched and combed and massaged and all that stuff. It was like, it's true. You know, everybody likes that.
Yeah, when I was a little girl, it was very, very common that if little girls were sitting together close to each other in class or on a floor for any reason, that one girl would reach out and just start braiding another girl's hair. And it was very acceptable to do that.
Sure.
Not anymore.
Yeah, the COVID thing,
More socializing. Yeah, that's more of a socializing
I
thing.
remember if a girl, you know, like I was I was an artsy outsider in school. And so if somebody grabbed my hair and started braiding it, I would be like, ooh, I'm being accepted. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's socializing, right?
Right.
I wouldn't connect that to like apes like picking things off of each other, but it's kind of the same
It is
mechanic, I
kind of
guess.
in a way.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
touching, it's reaching out to
animal-
someone.
Animal behavior,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny now because even the hairdresser that I've most recently had, she was very offended when I couldn't get in touch with her and I went to someone else to get my hair done. And she was just like, oh, how could you? You know, like,
You're being
couldn't wait
unloyal.
4 days?
Traitor.
Like I betrayed her.
Yeah, there is that relationship. There is a
Yeah.
connection there. It's
Now I've got to fix it. Oh.
yeah. You're right.
What's happening?
Oh, we're at the, she's about to try to seduce him at the hair salon.
Oh,
Right.
God.
We went to
Yeah.
that
Boy.
Westgate
Yeah.
mall or whatever.
Yeah, the mini mall.
Yeah. And he's falling in love with Kim because he sees Kim in the distance with her friends and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she's very angelic. She's very pretty. She's very, like you said,
Well,
cheerleader.
I think it's the moment he saw her in the photo album.
And he's
Yeah.
grabbing her. He's touching her. He's putting his hand over her. He's holding her.
Yeah.
He's, you know, and he's like, you
He's
can
on the
tell in his eyes, yeah, that he wishes he could do the same, right? He wishes he could touch.
He had hands, yeah.
Well, when Peggy goes into the
Before his
castle,
salon, he's getting his sharpening done. I forgot. I thought that was because I think the salon's in a similar strip mall.
it is. It's going to be a different scene. But when Peggy goes to the castle, and this escapes people for the most part at the beginning, but some people probably get it in the later part of the movie. The ruined castle, Peggy walks past this topiary area, and there's a giant hand there. So, right, so the hand
Yes.
Yeah.
represents
Carved a hand.
his biggest desire is to have
Yeah.
real hands,
Right.
to be a real boy like Pinocchio,
Right.
Yeah.
Pinocchio, yeah.
to have the social skills to be part of the world.
Yeah, and he never gets it.
Right.
And everybody's saying, I know a doctor who could help you. It's just talk.
Yeah,
No-
here he
yeah.
is. He's on the talk show now.
Yeah, speaking of which.
Well, some people aren't really broken that need to be fixed. So they just need to find different ways of overcoming their issue.
Yeah, well,
I think it was very
maybe, but
interesting, though, in
it's what he
talk show.
wants, and it's how he was intended, was to have hands.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting in this talk show how all these issues and questions we're talking about get addressed. Like somebody stands up and says, but then you wouldn't be special. You'd be like everybody
Yeah.
else. You wouldn't be on TV, you know?
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's so great about being on TV?
Well, that's his point. He
Yeah.
wants to be a real boy. He
Yeah.
don't care about being on TV.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't be able to do all the creative stuff that he does with the ice sculptures and
I
the
think-
hair.
Well, he
I
could use
think
his
he
hands
could.
to be a
I think he-
creator of a different type.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think if he had real hands and you put scissors in his hands, he would probably be just as good. Maybe not
Yes.
as fast.
And I think that
Yeah.
I think he would be the next generation of the inventor.
yeah.
You know, he'd make another real boy of some sort.
He
you
could
know?
put on gloves.
that.
He could put on gloves that are like that,
Yeah, absolutely.
like Freddy Krueger.
Or just use carving tools, you know?
Yeah.
Actually, I worked on a music video for Jimi Hendrix where we used an ice sculpture, and this guy brought in chainsaws and all kinds of crazy stuff to carve a giant life-size Jimi Hendrix with a flying V guitar in his hands.
That's cool.
Oh, here's the romantic. It's like a romantic eye contact scene, but through the television.
Yeah, like he just knows that she's looking at him.
Like a romance from afar.
Yeah.
Like he's looking into the camera lens and communicating
He's seeing her.
to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like how if you're in a room in a police station where they have a mirrored, wall where there's people on the other side, and like in X-Files and stuff, like somebody can look right at you through the mirrored wall,
Right.
He has a special power.
And of course, the boyfriend is totally making fun of him. Is totally making fun of him for being different. And he says, "Oh, look at him fail miserably at socializing. I wish I could record this so I could watch it again."
Yeah.
And representing really the basest instincts of making fun of anything that's different.
Here's the salon scene where she tries to. This woman practically sexually assaults him. This is very much like the biblical story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife.
Oh, really?
Yes, very similar. Yes. Potiphar's wife, she tries to show off Joseph to her friends, and she tries to seduce him. And when she doesn't succeed and he runs away, she accuses him of assault.
Aww.
And as he's running away, he leaves behind his cloak, and she uses it as proof against him in the Bible. But that's...
Yeah, it is true about Ryan, how you were saying that everybody turns against him and accuses, like this woman who practically assaults him.
She climbs on him, he's in the chair.
Yeah. They've got an old-timey fuse box instead of having circuits.
She's got her like romantic music ready.
Yeah.
So I don't think that she's that sexually attracted to him. I think this is more of a way of not just exploiting him sexually, but also exploiting him for her business. Just the same way as Joyce seems to exploit a lot of people. Like she shoves herself onto people like, oh, you're going to have a barbecue? You didn't invite us. Like she's making herself invited. And
or like
she's
when she has repairmen come over and she seduces them,
She's objectifying them, and she's like, probably trying to get away with, just ogling him. So there is that thing.
She plays a very interesting role in another movie called Mr. Frost, which if you're a Jeff Goldblum
with
fan,
Jeff Goldblum.
It's a very interesting Jeff Goldblum movie.
He's this weird, like almost like a demon or a spirit or something. It's a great movie.
I haven't.
Yeah, when I saw that movie, I thought he was the devil in that movie.
Yes.
And the thing is, when people are trying to exploit you, they don't really make you feel special. They're trying to make themselves feel so special. You're privileged to be with them.
Yeah.
It's not that she's admitting he's special in any way. It's like, oh, you could make me a lot of money.
Yeah.
How can I take advantage of you? And look at me. I'm going to model some smocks for you. Yeah. See how beautiful I am.
Your job is to make me more special.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's about me.
Yeah.
Me.
But that said, holy hell, Joyce.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good sound. People of Earth, attention. People of Earth,
And he runs away.
This walk that he does, this duck waddle that he does out of the salon, I saw an interview with Johnny Depp. He said he watched a lot of Charlie Chaplin movies, and he's imitating Charlot's.
Okay.
Walking. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think the casting in this is great. I just hate that the whole town sort of turns on him and it never gets resolved. Nobody ever learns anything except for, like I said, except for
the audience.
Her.
We learn.
Yeah.
We learn about
Edward learns stuff.
Well, I think the audience doesn't really have to learn. I mean, I think we sympathize with him from the start.
Well, I think it's like a classic storybook. It's like you don't really learn too much from the Three Little Pigs or stories like that, but they're entertaining and they do have a moral.
But the Three Little Pigs isn't an hour and 45 minutes long.
It could be. Look at the Company of Wolves. If they take Little Red Riding Hood and they make a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
I think the little girl in the bed listening to the story is probably learning stuff like,
Yeah.
don't be like this. Don't hate things for being different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
and
that's a
that
good point.
just because someone can't, physically love you, they can still. It's important that you connect emotionally to people.
I like the bank is called Bank.
Yeah. Right.
And
he's doing the bank loan thing in front of the actual strong
Vault.
door of the bank.
Yeah, and as soon as he
Right.
gets
So
turned
you
down,
get the
they shut the vault and lock it.
Yep.
It's very graphic.
Yeah.
It's like you can't mistake what he's
No,
throwing
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Not getting any of this money.
Yeah.
It's like gold bars, anyone,
Yeah.
It was open for you, but then I read your application and now it's locked shut. And
Clang.
they fold the guards fold their arms like, get out of here.
Right.
And the bank is
It's like
closed,
Dr.
like the blinders on the banks,
Yeah.
the glass windows are
Yeah.
all drawn.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
like a place that,
it's very overt.
esoteric almost.
I love how those dolphins are swimming
Lovecraftian.
through the lawn and into the
Yeah.
next person's lawn.
Oh, I love
It's
that
great.
stuff.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
topiary
And
work
in
is
his own
amazing.
yard, he has like a Loch Ness monster kind of thing.
Yeah, like a dragon or something.
Yeah.
It's half under the lawn is water, and he's
Yeah.
like a hump and then a hump and then a dragon head or something.
And this bully, he wants to steal from his own dad because he's a shitty guy and his dad is a shitty dad.
Yeah.
And he's
They don't
insured.
communicate.
He's all insured, so
Yeah.
it won't matter.
Yeah, and it's the turning point for Winona's character. Right, it's the point she goes along with it, but then she realizes it was a horrible mistake and that he's a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
Well, it's your typical, teenagers who have peer pressure, you know, for whatever it is, whether it's drinking or drugs or sex or whatever, it's like that's what
Yeah.
they're showing here,
I love that they get dressed up like ninjas, like secret agents, but then they roll up in the van that has the flames painted on, which is
Yeah.
immediately recognizable.
With
Yeah,
their
but I
license
think-
plate and
but,
everything
yeah.
visible,
Yeah.
It's like the bandit masks in Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
To sneak into his own house. And his house doesn't
Exactly.
look that big. I mean, you'd think it would be more of a McMansion type of a thing, but if his dad is so
Yeah.
rich.
It's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's got like a couple of expensive toys,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like how Ferris's best friend's dad had a Maserati or a
Yeah.
Lamborghini or some red Ferrari or something in the garage.
And they just treat him like he's a human skeleton key. They don't really care about him. They just leave him
Right.
there. As soon as the
Yeah.
alarm goes off and the door is
You're on
locked,
your own.
You're on your own. Screw it.
And all it was to steal like some kind of a quadraphonic stereo or something.
Yeah, his stereo equipment.
Yeah, that they
Yeah.
could hawk so that he could buy a van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A sex van.
Yeah.
Which I must admit, when I was in high school, I would have loved to have one too.
And again, someone like him, he doesn't know who's his friend and who's trying to exploit him. He doesn't
Yeah.
have that social.
Right.
He's so innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just did it because she asked him to. Kim.
and
Right.
naive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's naive.
Exactly. He doesn't have the tools to understand that person is not really emotionally connecting to you. They're just exploiting you. They just don't care about you.
Yeah.
Which
but
happens to
he
a lot of people who.
he did know it was Jim's house though.
Right.
I don't
Right.
think he understands necessarily about right and wrong and stealing and stuff. Like he may have not been taught about that.
There's a good scene coming up after he's arrested, and then there's a psychologist talking, and he's basically just explaining almost like this tat for tat, like how he doesn't have social skills, doesn't know right from wrong, and he's unable to communicate properly. And then the cop says, "But is he going to be all right out there?" And the guy says, "Oh yeah, he'll be fine."
Yeah.
Yeah, like in other words, that's the way our current society treats social, psychoses and
Yeah.
schizophrenia and things like. Yeah, he's fine. Put him out on the street.
Yeah.
Even though he could be quite dangerous.
This is totally a Nightbreed scene right here, right?
Yeah, with the cops.
Yeah. And they're gonna. It's like they were about to shoot him anyway because he can't drop his weapons.
Sheriff Iger, is his name Iger?
Igerman.
Yeah.
I'm glad Tim Burton made the cop here an African American. That kind of takes the tension away from it.
Oh yeah.
Well, he doesn't do anything, right? He doesn't shoot him or nothing. So
He shows a lot of sympathy for him throughout the entire
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, he even pretends like he shoots him at the end, and he just comes back.
Yeah.
Because he understands that he doesn't know any better. You know, he's not. The system shouldn't be like treating him like a criminal because there's attenuating circumstances.
Yeah. And
what happens there?
He's
Later
an
on, there's a
outsider.
big part where the police are called, and he's being chased through the neighborhood and all that. And at one point, I heard the cop fire his gun up into the air.
Yeah, he just fires it in the air.
And I thought, what an idiot! Those bullets come back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's walking away from it. But seriously, is that really a danger? Like when people shoot, like
Yes.
high up in the air, and
Yeah.
because I thought when the bullet comes down, it never comes down at the same speed as it. Because
It
there's
can still hurt people.
Yeah, terminal velocity is enough to go into somebody's skull.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Yeah, just like sometimes things in the middle of tornadoes can get picked up and thrown through houses
like
and
a
stuff.
toothpick can go right through a solid door or something.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
But can you imagine, like how stupid that is for a cop? Like they're trained to not do stuff like that, but it's in a movie cop. It's not a real cop.
So here's the exposition from the doctor.
The years spent in isolation have not left him with the tools necessary to judge right from wrong. He's had no contacts. He's completely without guidance. Furthermore, his work, his garden sculptures, hairstyles, and so forth
Reading subtitles.
indicate that he's a highly imaginative
He's
character.
got it on closed caption.
Yeah. So but will he be all right? Oh, yeah, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
That character, I almost wonder if he's some sort of like friend of the production, or I don't know. He just seems like maybe thrown in there.
Yeah, he's like the agent or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a personal note, I mean, everybody, knows someone who might be autistic or a little bit on the spectrum. I mean, my wife herself admits publicly that has Asperger's to some extent. And again, sometimes people may be too literal in certain things. Like sometimes I am making a joke. I make like a rhetorical question and my wife replies like I'm asking a real question. And I'm like, no, I'm making a joke. Oh, okay. Got it. But sometimes people can be like that, and they will be all right out there as long as people understand and have the tools to deal with people like this, and not just be like, that guy's weird. What the fuck is wrong with him?
Yeah.
Right.
So people can be all right out there.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine when her daughter was young. A friend of mine has an autistic daughter. When she was young, during playtime at school, all the kids of different ages had lunch at the same time. And the teacher was concerned that the daughter was playing with like kindergarten boys who were much younger than her. Mm-hmm. And her mom explained, look, I don't care who she plays with if she's comfortable, because boys aren't plotting against her. And if she plays with girls her age, she doesn't understand the dynamics of how girls plot against the weak one, but she knows something's wrong. And she knows when she plays with boys, it's just about dinosaurs and trucks.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to
more literal.
navigate that. So she was like, just leave my daughter alone at recess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because girls can be really something.
A lot. And an autistic person doesn't necessarily, it's hard to pick up on all those subtleties.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
having been a young girl.
Well, and as a kid, I mean, I obviously knew people that you could tell were autistic, but we didn't have words for that. They were just weird. They're just weird. Yeah,
the layers and levels and stuff.
Yeah,
they're introverts, or they're special.
Yeah,
yeah, I guess. Anyway,
I mean, I bet we've all felt like that at different times, regardless if we were ever diagnosed or anything. Like I had periods in my life where I was kind of a loner, and and then I had periods where I was the class co-president of the class, of their high school class and stuff. So, you go from this to that.
Oh, here he is. His shredding the curtains because he's mad. He doesn't know how to. He's going to act out because he's mad now. He doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was going to say, we were talking about some of Winona's other movies. She was also in Girl Interrupted.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. She's great in Stranger Things also.
Yes.
A Girl Interrupted is another movie that refers a lot of this like social, angst of being a teenager or being different, being medicated. Your parents don't understand you, so they're going to send you away, and it can result in horrible, situations where someone can kill themselves, take their own lives. Yeah.
So
just like Edward's scarring the wall here.
And at what point in Winona's career did she like shoplift and she was kind of blackballed for a while? Was that around this time?
In her late 20s. I think she was in her late 20s.
Okay,
yeah,
so
and it wasn't that valuable either what she took. It was just a matter of the embarrassment of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that Alan Arkin is trying to teach ethics to Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
And he's
I
love
his performance. He is so good in this.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. He's subtle. He's hilarious. His delivery.
So their last name is Boggs. It says Bill Boggs on his ID card.
Yeah, he wears his name tag from work at home.
Again, see, another little subtle thing about his character. I love him. I love how at the beginning of the family dinner he's saying so Ed, you live up there on the hill, and Mother's like, his name is Edward, dear. He's like, well, Ed, how about he just keeps calling him Ed?
Yeah.
It makes it seem like he's a nice dad and he's permissive, but also because sometimes he's just I wouldn't say clueless, but he worries about the things that he likes and he wants to do, and that's it. And he likes his family and he wants to be okay with everything. He just wants to be in his backyard watching his game and have a nice dinner with his family, and things will work themselves out.
He's a typical middle-aged, middle-class dad, Very typical.
And at least he cares because he's trying to reach out to Ed and teach him like what's right from wrong. He's not just saying, you got arrested, I want you out of my house, you're a problem. He's like, okay, well, let's see if we can like fix this and explain how we do things. Well, he's actually trying. So
and not only that, but like when he ran away, he was the one person who went out to look for him. You know?
Right. He cares. So he's not that clueless. He really cares about his family. He's really a nice person.
So now they're all gossiping about how he must have, after what he did to Joyce.
And some of these ladies have like Horton Hears a Who hairdos.
Yes.
Oh yeah, very Dr. Seussy.
Weird cowlick thing with a little spirally thing coming out of their head and stuff. That's funny.
Have you ever seen the movie The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T?
I've seen pictures of it. It looks amazing.
It's
like a lot of
like
kids.
This.
A giant keyboard.
It's got the same sensibility. It's like, like live action Dr. Seuss, like those huge rickety staircases that are just like his staircase that's up there at the castle, and very, very much inspired by the drawings of Dr. Seuss and Tim Burton. Of course, Tim Burton is very Dr. Seussy.
There's like these characters that look a little like Oompa Loompas and a giant keyboard or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of it.
What it is it's like a school for piano. Like, remember when you were a kid, like maybe 8 or 9 years old, and you're forced to play, to take piano lessons? Every time you had to take piano lessons, it was like a huge chore. Well, these kids, thousands of them, get sent to this school called the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T School of Piano, and they have these beanies that have a little hand on them, and they sit at this ginormous piano that takes like 500 kids, and it's all a huge keyboard. They can all sit next to each other on this huge keyboard.
Hence the fingers, yeah.
Right. The idea of having this cotton that you roll out on your roof to look like snow on your roof is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Well, you live in snow country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here in California, we do stuff it like that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like, what is the payoff for doing something so dangerous?
Your house looks
Falling off
better
your
than your
roof.
neighbor's.
Yeah,
fall
you
off
gotta
your roof and
then
break
you gotta
your
go,
neck.
go back out there and take it off again later.
Yep. I mean, I know people, here in California that they have their Christmas lights up all year round.
Oh
So
yeah, that's
they'll
what I was
put
going
it
to
back
say.
up.
Yeah, some people just leave them on, Ryan. They just, hey, now it's mood lights for my patio.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Christmas. But you should see that if that makes you anxious, you should see that Chevy Chase in that
Oh,
vacation
Yeah.
holiday
Christmas
movie. It's,
vacation.
he spends the whole movie trying to get the lights to work, and yeah.
He like shorts out the whole
Yeah.
block or something.
So here's Edward kind of releasing his pent up frustration creatively.
And he actually has a ladder this time.
Yeah. And he's doing this giant ice sculpture. And of course, don't ask me where he got the ice, Ryan. But
Yeah.
he's doing this beautiful angel, which of course is, I think, very symbolic of his the way he sees Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
The way he sees
It's
Kim.
infatuation with her. Yeah.
And she's dressed in white, and it's Christmas, and there's snow, and she's dancing in the snow, which is a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yeah, it's magical, this part,
Yeah, that block of ice would be like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, but I actually saw this really happen, like in person, because I worked on that music video, and we did the whole video in an ice house, like here in San Jose, California.
Oh,
There's
cool.
a big giant building that's full of ice, where they buy blocks of ice for ice sculptures and stuff.
Well,
And
we
shot the music video. in there.
we have competition for the worldwide competition in Fairbanks for ice sculptures every year, and
Oh,
there
wow,
there are
cool.
multi-block ones that'll be like 30 feet tall.
Holy
Where
moly.
they fuse the blocks together with water and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here comes Anthony Michael Hall again. And he's the guy who causes the distraction that results in the accident. And then he's just pushing him away. And I was watching an interview with Danny Elfman. He was talking about scoring the movie. And then he talked about how they did the previews, where they bring people in, they give you cards to write what you think about the movie. And they were
Right.
testing, previews. And he's like, and because the preview was in Orange County, California, he was like, there are people who didn't get the movie, and there were like these guys that looked just like Anthony Michael Hall that were leaving us like cards after watching the preview saying, well, I don't see why this guy, I think that guy was right in like pushing him away and
Oh, my God.
and protecting Winona Ryder because that fag was trying to get his girl. He's like, yeah, and they wrote that stuff, and like Tim Burton was so disheartened, and Danny Elfman was like, I couldn't believe that people were like, just saying these things about the movie. They were completely identifying with the villain.
With the wrong side.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like,
Well, there are people out there.
and at this point, he turns a corner that's a kind of a little bit less believable. I mean, Jim, because you don't push the guy with knives for hands, and you don't chase him around and keep pushing him until something bad happens.
Well, he wants him to go away because he's the guy who knows that he tried to rob his dad, right? That's at least for me. That's like
Well,
he's gonna keep pushing him away because he wants him to leave, so he won't tell anybody.
But even
the
when he
truth.
does leave, he chases him into his house and keeps on pushing him.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's drunk at that point and he wants to kill him. He brings
Yeah.
a shotgun.
Yeah.
He wants him to
gun,
die because he doesn't want him to ever tell the truth, and he wants Winona to not have any chance with him.
Yeah.
He's right now he's just fed up, and I love this chick, the harbinger of like that thing is evil, and and then her house is a fetishization of religion.
Yeah.
She's got like a giant neon cross on her red wall, and she's
sort of like Carrie's mother.
yeah. Yeah, she's got all these like candles, like red candles inside her house, and all these like paraphernalia of like, it's like you're walking into like a church,
Yeah.
a store that sells
fundamentalist church.
or a store that sells like Christian paraphernalia. Like there's a lot of those in Arizona. But then it's funny because he trims the bushes in front of her house to look like the devil. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
I'm proving you're right.
The very first time she ever saw him, when he first arrived at the house, she immediately disliked him, and the father said, "Yeah, get out of here, run." He told her to get lost. Because obviously she's known in the neighborhood as the crazy lady.
To be fair, though, during the show and tell scene, those little things that he makes are little devils. At the school.
Were they? Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean the paper
They
dolls?
are little devils.
Is
The red paper.
Yes.
Yeah, it is red paper.
Little devils.
That's hilarious.
I didn't notice that.
Layering of symbolism there.
That's Tim Burton slipping it in there. I guess.
Yeah.
But there's one thing for sure. I like that the third act of this movie, this is more like the late second act, that the tension rises as the holidays come. That's very much on par for what happens during the holidays.
Yeah.
That's where everything kind of buckles up.
Especially like that crazy lady, if she lives alone and, the holidays are coming and her craziness is getting worse,
Because Peggy was putting the treat up together with her daughter Kim, and she's like, the holidays are going to come. Everything is going to be better. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
For some, it will be.
Yeah, it's like Christmas is the climax of the movie.
Oh, man, there's Christmas freaks everywhere. Like, there's a house around my neighborhood. You can see it from far away, and it's already everything's up. It's not even Thanksgiving.
That's the thing about the Chevy Chase vacation movies, too. It's like in those, you can see his Christmas lights from space.
Oh, you guys should visit North Pole, Alaska.
Oh,
is there
I'm sure.
such a place?
Oh, yeah, it's like
It's a town.
Yeah, I'm responsible for that for the taxing of that area.
Oh, bah humbug.
You tax Santa Claus?
Oh, yeah. Actually, the mayor of North Pole was Santa Claus last year.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Really?
Well, it's a guy who legally
about the
changed
island
his name to Santa Claus.
Chris Kringle.
Do they have a Humble Bumble and an Island of Misfit Toys up there?
No, there's the Santa Claus house, which is a big tourist attraction.
I know him.
Yeah.
Santa.
Yeah.
There's free gum on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and they're actually doing Santa Claus visits right now, which they really shouldn't. I mean, they got big lines, and I don't know. It's not.
Here's the doggy, the big woolly sheepdog that just comes up to him like, "Oh, you're sad. Don't be sad." He gives him a little kiss, and he cuts the little bangs.
He only does one clip, but it's to make the dog see better.
Yeah. And Carolyn Thompson, the woman who wrote the story about Edward, she said that she based Edward on a dog that she had. And you can see some of that body language in times when Ellen Arkin is talking to Edward, and he's just lowering, he's lowering his head, he's like kind of cowering in the corner, and it's like just like a dog would do when you're telling him that you did something wrong, and it's like he's just like that, like puppy dog eyes.
Yeah.
And she said that her dog was so present that the only thing he needed to do was speak, and so she based a little bit the way that he reacts to things was based on a dog that she had. So I just wanted to say that.
I bet his performance was too. Like, in other words, he probably thought to himself, like, I have very few lines, so I have to get internal, with my performance and, be like an animal and stuff,
Yeah. And here comes the moment where she asks him to hold her, and he says, I can't. Because he doesn't have the social skills. He doesn't have the hand.
Yeah.
The hands don't let him,
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is why doesn't she embrace him?
She does a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
it does end up
him.
happening. He says that, but then she's like, nope, we're doing it anyway.
Does she wrap her arms around him and hug him tight?
Yeah.
She leans into him. Yeah, she puts her face on him.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one time I was collecting belt buckles and belts and stuff that looked like the ones I was going to try and do a cosplay, make, not for me to wear, but I was always doing stuff like that whenever I would see stuff like old pairs of scissors and clippers and things, and I would start collecting junk to ever make stuff like this,
Yeah. And I remember when this movie came out, I saw it in the theater. I remember all the teaser posters and all the stuff that was coming out. They all had like either sorry about that. They either had, thanks.
He's
they either-
remembering getting the hands as a gift.
This scene.
And those are
This scene.
beautifully, cast wax hands that just are made to just break apart. Oh, so nice.
So here's the inventor saying, you're almost a real boy. You're almost there.
And this moment is so sad, but then you think about the aftermath of it. It's like he said he never woke up. It's like, so did you just leave him there on the floor for this whole time?
Like I was saying that to Nina too.
Yeah.
I was saying like, so there's a corpse upstairs with a rotting skeleton and fabric and
No, guys, no. He was a Jedi and he went into the Force.
Right.
He disappeared.
Dissolved.
Yes.
I prefer that.
But poor Vincent, man. When he was doing this movie, he had emphysema. He passed out a couple of times shooting these scenes, and that's why he's not that much into the movie.
Yeah.
His health was pretty frail at this point, and he passed away 3 years later.
But I heard that his daughter really loved this film and that she, was there on set with him and that, she remembers how they treated him, how so revered and, he was like worshipped, like Tim Burton. When he was on set, Tim Burton had grin ear to ear. He was so happy,
Like he worshipped him and he was a little bit of a mentor. Yeah. Oh, and here's that scene that he tries to touch his maker's face on the floor with his hands, and then these red trails appear on Vincent Price's face, and it just freaks him out. Like, oh my God, what did I do? And that's how he thinks I can never touch anybody ever again. So I'm just going to go and hide in the attic.
It also makes you think that maybe he's not really that old at that point, right? Like he hasn't been alive for very long.
Who, Edward?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just created.
Yeah, right.
Maybe six months ago or something, perhaps.
So he doesn't really understand how people work.
I disagree. I think that the house being in ruins shows that he's been up there maybe for decades, because I don't see.
No, I'm talking about
after the death.
Yeah. I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because the hole in the roof and everything. And, I think Vincent, if he had been alive, would have said, like, hey, we better get a repairman.
Yeah,
I mean, make a robots to fix that ceiling.
It could have been like 100 years for all we know after the death and, before.
Yeah, because now that we see at the very end of the movie that Edward is not aged.
Yeah.
Right? And Winona has.
She's aged, but
she's old, but he isn't.
And it seems like he only eats to be polite, but he probably doesn't really need to.
Right. And he doesn't get fat or skinny or anything, And where does he go to the bathroom?
Here's the old guy saying, like, catch that cripple or whatever.
I forget, somebody said somewhere, how does he go to the bathroom? Maybe it was Gary Oldman said that. Or
Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise.
Or Tom Cruise.
That was one of the questions he had.
That would be a concern.
And, of course, Tom Cruise also wanted to change the ending and all that stuff. So it's like...
Man, Tom Cruise's movie meddling finally caught up with him, right? He didn't make that Mummy movie terrible, from what I heard.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't watch it.
I didn't see it either. I just heard about it.
Yeah, well, obviously not many people did either, because it was a failure.
Yeah, it destroyed their whole idea for the Universal monster...
Dark universe.
Yeah,
they were going to have a franchise with all the new monsters. Maybe Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. Oh, here's the scene where he saves the young boy from being run over.
Yeah, and nobody gets it. They're all like, "Oh, look, he's terrorizing that boy," and he never gets vindicated. Nobody ever says, "Oh, he was just trying to help all along." I don't know.
This is also the scene where the haircuts start getting really wacky.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked about the teenager kid, the sister's brother, was he loves Edward Scissorhands. Like when he meets him at the dinner table, he's like, "Those are cool." It's like, man, you could, if you karate chopped a guy's neck, you could chop his head right off.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah,
that is what a teenage kid would say.
And here we've got Jim. It's like, you keep pushing him, you're gonna.
Yep. Yeah, and then people see blood and everybody becomes apprehensive.
Yeah.
You would probably pass out, Ryan.
No. Come on.
But yeah, this is like, and then they just look at each other, have a moment, and she says, "Run, Forrest, run!" Because there's no way that this is going to end well at this point. He's surrounded by people who just don't like him. Cops are coming, and it's like there's no way to explain it.
Yeah,
This is the pitchforks and the torches and the villagers chasing Frankenstein.
Yeah. Except it's a really slow drive.
Right down to the end of the cul-de-sac.
He passed out doing this run again because he had like a really tight leather outfit and it was really hot in Tampa, Florida. And they kept doing takes of him running up the street and he passed out.
Jeez.
Amazing.
And here's the part where the cop shoots.
He fired up into the air,
Yeah. Yeah, but he's
Nothing
smart
to
enough
see
to
here.
walk away. Yeah.
It's like,
Now,
nope,
when
I
he
got
fires,
him.
Are there still a bunch of neighbors around when he does
Oh,
it?
yeah.
And they approach the car. The police.
So the
Yeah.
bullets could fall down and hit the neighbors, too.
Yeah. he walked into the gate and they're all outside of the gate.
Oh.
So
all over.
yeah, they're all probably only like, 20 feet away or 30 feet away.
Social norm is restored. The outsider has left the community. Everything. Nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah.
Right.
Just let the outsider be in his outside and we'll be in the inside and everything will be fine.
Look at this shiny thing right here. I'm Men in Black. I'm gonna zap you guys, and you'll all forget about it.
And of course, they're still going to go in there.
And there's that lady with the Christmas present hair.
Yeah. They're all dressed like Santa gnomes right now.
Yeah.
They all got red pajamas and green pajamas, and
Yeah.
one lady's dressed like a Christmas tree. She's got like these red little balls hanging off of this green gown. It's pretty amazing, actually, for the person who did the costumes.
Yeah, I love the costuming and the art direction.
Yeah, and Winona's dress, this white dress with the bow tie on the shoulder. It's beautiful.
Yeah, she was in her prime. This and then Beetlejuice, where she's goth.
Yeah.
She looks so cute as a goth girl.
Dance, 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 senora, let your body shine.
Yeah, I love that.
And then when I saw Batman Returns, the Penguin scene, I was getting flashbacks to Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, yeah. And also, like Max Schreck, the mayor is, Christopher Walken with a blonde head of hair, and he looks like a gothic, weird actor.
Was Batman
I'm the mayor of this town.
Yeah, exactly.
was Batman Returns a flop?
I don't think so.
Because it did mark the end of Tim Burton doing Batman movies. And I at the time I thought it was ridiculous.
Why would you want to keep remaking the same thing over and over again?
So here's where he has to stab the evil boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gun. He's got the gun.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about Frankenstein. We talked about Geppetto. We talked about Pinocchio. I want to bring up that the real aesthetic element that defines Edward Scissorhands for me is if you go back to the cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The somnambulist.
Cesare,
yes. He's even closer to what Edward Scissorhands looks like and acts like.
Even the
in this
makeup
movie.
on Cesare is like a pale white makeup with black lips and black around the eyes,
and the deep set eyes.
Hair.
So Edward would have been okay with just letting him continue to beat him with that log. It's like, but nope, you hurt Kim. That's the end for you.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
And like the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, also this movie is kind of narrated as a flashback. So in a sense, maybe the fable nature of the story is caused by the unreliable narrator.
Yeah. Well, and I could see that.
Ironically, though, when you come out of the fable, her telling the little girl the story, the audience sees that he's still alive up there.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't look any different.
Yeah.
So he's going to live forever up there in the castle.
Yeah.
I guess while he's wound up, once
Fairy tale.
Right.
Once the spring loses its wind, I think it's just going to wind down.
Yeah, could be.
So, another thing is that I always thought this was Edward Scissorhands because scissors it's always expressed as a mass noun. You never say, I'm going to have a scissor. Here's my scissor.
Not to be confused with the adult film, Edward Scissor Sisters.
Did you make that up?
There's a porn one.
I did.
Okay.
No, I made it up. But this part here.
There might be, because there's so many. I've heard of like.
Oh yeah, I know. There's
John
Edward Penis Hands or
Thunderbone
something. Oh yeah, for sure. You know, it's Rule 34, man. There's always something out there that's subverted something. I know for sure that.
Oh yeah,
Edward Penis
absolutely.
Hands. But anyway, this is a family podcast, so.
Yeah.
But
this is a
part,
children's storybook.
but this part here, that I was going to say something about the fact that he throws him out the window. Roger and Ebert, in the video, Ebert goes off on a rant, and he goes back to it in the middle of the video that says, I don't like the idea that all these children's movies, you know, they always have like a big showdown at the end and violence and someone has to die instead of talking it out. I don't understand why they do that. I'm just teaching children that you can't, you know, I'd rather see this get talked out and figure it out at the end without having a big confrontation between the good guy, bad guy, and someone dies. And I was like, oh my God, dude, shut up.
Yeah, and it's not really a children's movie.
Yeah. That's what Roger says. He says this is more. I didn't see it as a children's movie. I saw it more like a movie that was as much for myself as it was for a kid.
Oh, you mean Gene Siskel, right?
Yeah,
Siskel, Siskel, not Roger. But it seems like sometimes Ebert was just playing the contrarian and more like a character. Sometimes I don't believe that someone who had that knowledge of movies would sometimes say the things that he said.
I agree, because he's backtracked on several of his reviews. Like at one point he would dislike something like The Thing or Blade Runner or whatever, and then later on he'd call it a classic, like when the 10 best of the year or something.
Yeah. He had this this stance that he was just so rigid about video games aren't art. That
right. He got himself into a controversy with Clive Barker, right? He replied to that stuff. Yeah.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
It's like
I'll send you a link.
What's interesting though is like when it comes to Clive Barker, there is a lot of parallels because of The Thief of Always and the way Clive wanted to start writing more fantasy, for not necessarily for children, but stuff that could be more, in that realm, like Quackenbush and the Quiddity and like the different directions that Clive went in from, say, the Books of Blood.
Well, even before he even wrote the Books of Blood, like Maximilian Bacchus is totally a
fantasy.
A fantasy world, sort of like this, not realistic.
I want to give props to whoever did the old age makeup with Winona Ryder there, because like you guys mentioned, and you, I think, Ed, V. Neal was the makeup department head, and then of course Stan Winston was special makeup and Scissorhands effects, and then I think it was Matthew Mungle and Rick Stratton and Brad Wilder that did makeup for all the other characters, probably including Kim, the character of Kim. So props on that old age makeup. It's really good, right?
Well, the thing about that I love is that, Matthew Mungle, he's a genius makeup artist, who's probably was involved, and Rick Stratton, like with the sculpting of the old age appliances and applying them and all that. Or maybe V did some applying of the old age makeup and painting and stuff, because they often work as a team when you need to do something that big, that complex. It takes hours, like 6 hours, 4 hours sometimes to do something that complex. And I think her hands were done, her neck was done, and so Matthew Mungle's a brilliant genius. I've purchased stuff from him. He sells makeup supplies and he'll sell appliances and all kinds of stuff. And then Rick Stratton, we own a few Outer Limits masks, rare collectible Outer Limits masks.
No kidding.
Made by Rick Stratton and Steve Neal. Yeah.
Were those the ones that the guy that wakes up and everybody has a weird face, or that represents their internal?
Okay, no. These are actually just back in the day, like in the early 70s, Steve Neal and Rick Stratton used to make Halloween type, masks that people could just buy and wear, like you wore your six finger that year, They made a six finger.
I want the deleted scene here where he had to haul these blocks of ice up the stairs.
So this lovely Edward theme here at the end, it's just so beautiful. Danny Elfman was saying that it's kind of like a Romanian, Hungarian kind of like tone to it. And it's just magical. And the way that he's freeze framed those moments, he has a statue of Kim as a young girl dancing in the snow, and he has like a picture of, a sculpture of the topiary animals and the family playing and all that stuff. It's just so beautiful. It's like it's frozen forever in his mind, and it's the thing that keeps him like, it's the beauty that he goes to make himself feel happy.
I think it's cool because it is like a snow globe too.
Yeah.
It's like you could actually remember how that idea for Bloodline was, where you'd pull back and you'd see a box, sitting on the table, and it would either be the puzzle guardian or something.
Yes.
Well,
at the end of Hellraiser
like
Bloodline.
that in this film too. You pull back and you could see a snow globe, and then all in a snow globe.
Yeah. Well. And I think one thing that kind of bugs me is just that it seems like the theme is you can't be weird and live in the world. If you're going to be weird, go back over there, go back to where go hide yourself away, and
right, the outsider.
Yeah, go be weird over there, and then now everybody's happy because you did that.
Yep.
That could be seen that way for sure. That's one of the main complaints a lot of people have about the movie, is that there's no resolution at the end for the thing that most people would like to see. Okay, yeah, like let's let them live together, and but then how would that be like? That's the thing. That's a trick.
Well, he needs to get finished. He needs to have hands.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
He needs to talk to that doctor that lady mentioned.
Right.
But maybe some people are never
love
finished.
For her is evergreen.
Yeah, but maybe some people are never finished. Maybe some people aren't fixable, and they don't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Maybe some people just do the best they have with the time they have left, and maybe some people will connect to other people differently through their work, through their intellectual connection, more so than an emotional, more of an artistic connection. I think that's what happens here. So the snow is like a way of Edward connecting to the girl, because he knows they can never be together. There's no physical interaction between them. It's a fable. So there's never going to be, they're never going to be cooking dinner and being happy and sitting outside. It's just,
it's like the relationship is perfect because it never really starts.
Yeah, well, in that sense, that's the part that's unsatisfying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
but at the same, it's true. At the same point, the love is true. The love is genuine, and it survived decades.
Yeah.
So
it's bittersweet.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, it goes all the way around back to Clive, in the sense that, as a gay man, he related to the world, in a similar way to Edward Scissorhands,
For sure. Yeah.
As an outsider.
Yeah. He looked at the world, that's why, Cabal was written that way. And, so many of his stories, have that attitude, the outsider.
Yeah. And it's, unfortunately, Geppetto builds Pinocchio, wants him to be a real boy, and at the end he does turn into a real boy. But we never see what happens to Pinocchio after he became a real boy.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's the trick. That's the magic. It's like the beginning of, I think it's the beginning of Imagica, where Clive talks about the teachings of a dramaturge called Plutharokexos, right? That he says that, what was the thing? It was after two. No, I forgot. But it's like that.
There's only ever room for two, or for three characters, I think. Yeah.
And then it turns into one, and then it turns into zero. Because even after the happy ending of stories where they end like, oh, the prince married the princess, and they were happily ever after. Were they? We don't get it, because then, we know that there's going to be arguments. There's going to be days that are less than good. Then someone's going to die. Then someone's going to die too. And then the story's going to be over. But we don't want to hear that. We want to stay at the point where this is the point.
The Joseph Campbell stories,
Love wins, and we don't need to know what happens afterwards.
Right. Like the hero's journey stories,
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell stuff. It's a fable.
Carpenter's Run in Florida.
But in this case, I mean, she does narrate what happened afterwards. She never saw him again, and it snows every winter.
Yeah, because he's up there doing his ice sculptures.
Yeah,
because we have to have an ending of some sort.
And then you think about the little girl that she's telling the story to. Who is she? Is she your granddaughter?
Yeah.
Did she get married and have kids?
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
Did she have a life of her own? You know, did their relationship become more of a platonic thing then, like a long distance platonic thing? Did she ever go back to it? She says she didn't, but
Yeah.
Is she in psychic? Is she in psychic linked with him? You know.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's the end of the credits. I have to say that for my own editing.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I was looking at the pictures of the old age makeup, and the proof of a good artist is that they painted the whole makeup, even the scalp that was going to be covered with the hairpiece.
With
So that's
old age dots and wrinkles,
yes,
lines,
yeah,
little
amazing
liver spots and things. And,
exactly. They just go like, I'm going to do the whole thing. Who knows what can be seen, you know?
That's
Yeah.
right. Through the wig, sometimes you can see if it's in close up. You know.
I remember one time Ed and I were teaching a class on makeup, and a young woman came to be the model, and she'd been recruited
Oh,
by
yeah,
the
she's
woman
young
who
and
was
beautiful.
running the class. And she was very beautiful. Ironically, she was wearing a white off-the-shoulder sweater with a big button on the side. I remember it very well. We have
I did
pictures
an
of
old
it.
age on her.
Yeah, so we did an
Full
old age on her,
prosthetics, full
and it was very similar to the way that looked, although we did it so fast it wasn't that subtle.
Yeah, it was only 3 hours.
She was very upset. She was very upset.
Yeah, because she looked in the
And
mirror after it was
as
on.
soon as the photographer took the photos of her, she
wanted
wanted to
to
get it
get
off her
Take
face.
it off. Take it off.
Oh my
She
God.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I thought you hired me to be the model tonight. I thought I was going to look beautiful.
Oh,
Look
oh,
what
yeah.
you've done.
You guys made her face her own mortality.
Right,
yes.
Some people
like
don't like
Father
to be
Mary.
face to face with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Father Marin. You know, when Max von Sydow played Father Marin, he was only like 35 or something. And he looked like he was 90, like he looks now, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing that I was following a little bit of the script while we were watching the movie, and it's amazing how close to the script the movie is. Everything is like almost beat for beat, line for line. I have a blue revision copy here, which usually, if you know, the blue revision is the first. It's the one that comes the revised after the first complete draft. Then the revised one is blue. Then it goes into like pink, yellow, blah 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 blah. Like Peter Atkins was telling us in the other episode.
Right.
But this one is a revised February 22nd, 1990. And I was just following some of the parts of the scenes, and it's like so close.
stuck
It's
to it, huh?
absolutely the same. That's amazing. It's
Well,
rare
these
that
kind
a
of
movie
movies,
gets.
you know, I think these kind of movies, though, because they're so art directed, they have so much storyboarding and, you know, pre-production design work and stuff that they kind of have to stick to it, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Otherwise, it'd cost a lot of money. And Tim Burton's movies like this one, I believe, was not a huge budget. I think it had a fairly reasonable budget.
20 million, I think.
Yeah,
it
and
was
it
about
made like
20 million.
160 or something, as I recall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was very popular.
It was pretty popular. Worldwide, made about $86 million. Internationally, like almost 30 million. So, yeah, and domestic 56. So, yeah, it's about 159,000. Wow.
Yeah, I knew it was a great investment, you know, great return on their investment, but you know they couldn't make a sequel really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can see why this was a risky move to be a Christmas movie for real. I mean, it's not your typical Christmas movie that people might have been like, oh, let's go see this movie with our kids, and then it's like, I didn't get this.
Yeah, it's kind of a
even now,
downer
it's not-
too.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's one of those movies that people pull out for Christmas nowadays either. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
mean,
people
like
don't think
Elf
about
is.
Elf or like Die Hard or
Oh my God,
Yes,
I'm so tired of
ironically,
Elf.
Die Hard.
I'm so tired of Elf.
I used to watch Nightmare Before Christmas at Christmas and
I love
Halloween,
that,
and then it's like, oh, now I'm getting tired of this movie. I see it twice a year now.
Yeah.
I could
Well,
never
any-
get tired of it. I wish I
Yeah.
could still see it.
Well, anyway, guys, this was Edward Scissorhands, part
Lots of
of
fun.
Yeah.
Clive Barker's A through Z of horror.
It was a lot more
And
fun
I-
watching it with you guys.
I'm glad. All right. And
I hope that you guys will enjoy the next one we do too. The Killer Clowns.
Oh
from
yeah,
Outer
yeah.
Space.
I
Hello,
watched
brothers.
I watched that when we were talking about the book A to Z of horror. So that and then that was the first and only time I've seen it. So
I've
like
seen
a
it
couple of
many
years
times.
ago.
Did you ever get to meet Stan Winston in any capacity, Ed?
Yes, I did. I went to the San Diego Comic Book Convention, and he was there because of the movie The Time Machine, the new Time Machine movie.
Oh, yeah.
His company did all the Morlocks and stuff.
Was that like
And,
2001 or something like that?
something
around that
like
time?
that, yeah, like 2004 maybe, something like that. But it was great because I went down, just on a special trip on the plane to go for just the day, because I was writing a big article and doing interviews with everybody about the making of that movie, about the new Time Machine, because I'm such a huge fan of the original, as well as when that one was in the works, being before it came out. I knew all about it and knew it was being made, and so I took a flight and did a day trip and didn't stay overnight or nothing. Met everybody, saw everything, did a bunch of interviews, and then came right back.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Who was that special effects artist that you connected to when you were doing the Dead Pit? That you
Which
reached
one?
out to?
Well, of course,
Dick Smith?
of course.
Dick Smith. Okay, that was Dick
Many
Smith.
others as well. There were several other guys like
Yeah.
Bart Nixon from L.A. and a lot of guys like who had worked on Fright Night 2 that had a lot of meltdowns in it and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, you contacted him to know how to make the meltdown, right?
Right.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Mr. Smith was such a help in any capacity. Like if I wanted information about foam latex, if I wanted information about old age stipple, about just anything.
That's so
you could
cool.
just call him and he would give you any information you wanted.
Yeah. All righty. Well, what's coming up next, Ryan? Like Ed said, it's going to be Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and that should be it for the end of this year. And then we're going to take a little bit of break, work on the book, hopefully get that ready for final editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when we, of
Looking
course,
forward to that.
when we go into 2021, which is weird, that sounds like so futuristic to say 2021, but
Sci-fi.
we'll
Sounds
do.
like we're into the future.
Yeah. So we'll do our tradition of 2020 in review and kind of go
Year
over
in review.
everything that came out and what things we liked and maybe things that were a disappointment. 2020 overall as a year was kind of a disappointment in general, but
Geez, tell me about it.
yeah. Well,
try to
Candyman
make
was
the best
supposed
of
to
it.
come out too, and it didn't.
Yeah. One
But we have
Candyman,
lots to
goddammit.
look forward to with all the Clive projects in the works.
Yeah.
That's true. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed watching this with us, and catch you back in Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody have a wonderful holiday season. We miss you all.
Yeah.
Same here. Stay safe.
And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. You can find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com. We've got an archive of past episodes, news, features, and reviews, along with all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on every other place you can find podcasts. Share your thoughts with us and share our podcast with your friends. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and news blog that's not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.